What's up, Marcus? What's up, everybody
Hey,
else out there?
what's going
I am
on, buddy?
Chase Brogan. This right here is the man of the hour himself, Marcus Buff Bagwell.
What's going on, buddy?
Not too much, not too much. Just getting this whole live thing situated here on YouTube. It's our first go, so we're having some technical difficulties with the mic volume, but I think we're good. Can everybody hear us out there?
Yes, that was a little scary for me. I'm like, Stacy, where you at? My
Hey, that's how it
microphone don't
goes
work.
sometimes. All good. So, Mark, you can see the comments. If you just click the right-hand side there, you should be able to see them. They'll populate in on the right-hand side for you.
Yeah.
So
So
let
it
me know
says
if you got.
private chat and comments.
Yeah. So you can see all the people commenting on here. So we should be good here.
Good.
There we go. And I can pull up some comments as we go. So hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for joining us on Thursday evening. We got some football going on out there. Anybody know what the score is? Fill us in while we get this underway.
Wait a minute. It's Atlanta, isn't it?
No, it's Jets Patriots, I think.
I thought we were Monday night, but somebody told me I thought we had a short week and was a Thursday night football, but no, that's
Oh,
we beat Philadelphia Monday, bro.
I know. That was a good one. That was a good one.
That was crazy. The way for the Atlanta Falcons to win is pretty simple. I can't watch.
All right. So they just need to keep Mark Bagwell away from the TV and then they're good. They'll have a great season.
Absolutely. Yes. I
That's
didn't
good.
watch. I didn't get to enjoy it or anything, but if I would have, I know I would have jinxed it. But I'm just glad they won. So I'm gonna try not to watch ever again so they can win maybe more ball games than 8 this year.
There you go. Well, you're just gonna have to watch all the other teams, and then I
Yes.
think everything will balance out for you.
There you go.
They will appreciate that. So, all right. So big news next week. So the Mr. McMahon docu-series is going to be hitting Netflix. Have you heard about this, Mark?
Yes.
It's all over the place. Everybody's been talking about it. So this is going to air, I believe, on the 25th, and I'm not sure if they're dropping all of them. I think Netflix typically will drop all the episodes at once, and then people can binge watch it. So next Thursday, we're going to at least watch one episode on Wednesday when it drops, and then we'll talk about it Thursday with everybody here in the chat. And I'm looking forward to that. I think there's a lot of speculation on this. Everybody's wondering why Netflix, with a $5 billion contract in play now with WWE, why they would release this, seemingly controversial docuseries on Vince McMahon. What are your thoughts on that?
So Netflix is the one releasing it, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And Netflix is the one that did the $5 billion deal.
That's right. They're going to be home for Monday Night Raw. Yeah.
Man, so that's kind of crazy. I don't know, man. It's just, I didn't get a chance to work for Vince very long. To be, being around him and stuff, I didn't get a chance to even really know him. But these rumors and stuff are pretty strong allegations. So
absolutely,
it's definitely gonna it is like it's going to leave a mark.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to bring a lot of eyes to WWE and to to Netflix too. But it's going to bring people that aren't just wrestling fans. I think it's going to bring casual fans from the '90s and even further back than that. But it's going to just bring a lot of attention to this. And I don't know if it's necessarily good attention, but we'll see. I think that they're trying to. My theory on this, anyways, is that they're trying to end an era here. I think they're trying to get into a new time and kind of separate themselves from Vince McMahon. And, I don't know if this will be a celebration of what he's created in the past and then his downfall or what they're doing, but definitely seems like they're trying to go in a new direction and separate the brand from, Mr. McMahon. So
they definitely are. And, the used to be, bad news or good news. Any news is publicity. And, it was, that rule seemed to work for everybody in my life except for me.
Right.
When it was bad, it was bad for me. I'm like, wait a second. When I thought bad was a good thing and it didn't matter, and bad publicity was good publicity. Wrong. That didn't work for me. So I remember I even said that to Johnny Ace one day. I was like, hey brother, what happened to bad publicity was good publicity? He goes, I'm not sure, but it's not working for you. And I go, I know.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's like at some point the rules changed. Like I remember remember Dennis Rod. I mean, you knew Dennis Rodman, but I remember he was with you guys in the NWO when he was supposed to be at a playoff game. You know, he was the bad boy, right?
Yes. I mean, everybody, the bad boy seemed to be like, again, it was the bad play somehow or another. I mean, look at Kim Kardashian's sex tape. Tell me one sex tape that's hurt the person.
That's true.
Don't know.
That's
Don't
right.
know. I'm trying to zoom my camera in. I'm not a loser. But it's a truth. I mean, it's
Yeah.
never hurt anybody. So, and that's crazy to say, but it has not. So I'm afraid I'm not going to do a sex tape, but I'd be scared if I did. It would be bad publicity. But
Right.
everybody else has done it, comes out unscathed. It's like, to me, it still does stand that a lot of people get away with the bad publicity is good still for some reason.
Right. No, it's true. And now you're at a point where I know there's been cases where people have like staged, leaks or whatever of sex tapes and different things of that nature, just for, like you're saying, that bad publicity that benefits them, either whether it's relevance or whatever they're going for, views. It just depends what you're into, whether you're a YouTuber, you're a celebrity, you have a new product that's coming out, new TV show. Yeah, it's become a way to kind of get your name out there, and like you
I
said,
mean,
bad
like I said,
publicity is good.
it worked for Kim, so why not try it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's true.
It's
So we've
crazy.
got Joe Cade here. Congrats on the new live stream show, boys. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Really appreciate that.
Absolutely. This is night one, man. Night one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. We're working out the kinks, but it seems to be going smooth so far. So I'm definitely liking that. No, Andy, I don't think he's going that route, but we'll see. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah, Robin was normal when he played with the
He
Pistons.
was no dye the hair, no. I mean, just he
Yeah,
was always a hell of an athlete, but
for sure.
he
Best
was.
rebounder in the NBA. Yeah,
But again, my point being, bad publicity is good publicity. When he started being bad is when you found out who Dennis Rodman was.
and he made a career of it, and I think he hasn't really gone back since. I mean,
No,
is Rodman somebody that you've kept in touch with over the years at all, or?
he's not. He was somebody that every time I saw him out, we didn't miss a beat. It was a lot
Sure.
of fun. But he was, he is party boy,
Oh yeah,
but I was party boy too for a long time. But man, in Sturgis, you just you can't reenact the feeling of pulling up to the MGM Grand. This is before there was the paparazzi with the cameras. There
right.
wasn't a word called paparazzi. There wasn't a word yet. There were just people with cameras. Well, we pulled up to the MGM Grand. MGM Grand with Sting, Dennis Rodman, Hulk Hogan, Marcus Bagwell, Steiners,
Wow.
Steve Mongo McMichael. I mean, Eric Bischoff, Dallas Page, all on $30,000-$40,000 Harleys that we had rode in from Las Vegas. I mean, excuse me, from Los Angeles to Las
Oh, okay.
Vegas through
To
the
the desert.
desert.
Yeah. Wow.
And I mean, brother, we had it out like smiling and laughing, and we got to Vegas like injured. I mean, it was we had the bandanas on our face like
Sure.
like cowboys because the wind.
Oh
And
yeah.
we got there. We needed, I don't mean we wanted, we needed a beer. And we went to, I mean, it was a bunch of cowboys getting off their horses, and the fans, I mean, those bikes underneath MGM Grand, and just everybody was just like, oh my God. It was like the paparazzi. And we all walked in to the MGM Grand and got a beer together. And that's a memory I'll never forget ever.
And what month of the year would this have been? Which pay-per-view was it?
It would have been Road Wild, but
Okay. So that's the summer months, right?
yeah, summer months for sure.
That's got to be brutal to take a Harley across the desert. Because
I
we were
mean,
just in Vegas, a month ago, and this was August at the time, and it was I think 120 when I actually landed. And I landed in the evening out there in
wow,
Vegas. So
120.
120, and you're riding bikes that's about a 4.5, 5 hour commute from LA to Vegas. So
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
and I'm talking about, summertime. I mean, beating down the wind, the sand.
Sure.
It was something. It's not even a bucket list thing. This thing was like, what do we get ourselves into here? But what had happened is Eric, there was a place called Bartell's. Bartell's the #1 Harley dealership in California, and they're in LA. So Sting and Eric and Dallas had bought new Harleys. So the idea was Eric shipped all the Steiners and my Harleys and everybody. They shipped all of our Harleys to Bartell's, and we drove 3 brand new $50,000 Harleys plus all of our bikes. We got them all cleaned up and everything, and we all headed out from there and did a bike ride through the desert. It was incredible.
Wow. That's I can't even imagine. This is before pay-per-view too. So I guess you didn't have to go tanning that week. You got that in on the ride.
No. I had farmer tan though. I had to fix
that's true. Okay, because you're partially covered. Yeah.
Yeah, hot stuff covered. I had to be hot stuff to cover it up.
Yeah, tell me about hot stuff, because I remember seeing or hearing a story about hot stuff where you got into a limo with Hogan, and this stuff had a pungent smell to it, right?
It's like icy hot times 10.
Wow. And I mean, that's pretty strong.
It is. It's real strong. Like it'll take over a locker room like daring. But let me explain something to you. If I would show you a picture of me just standing still on Monday Night Nitro with no hot stuff on, and I put hot stuff on and stood right beside a before and after picture, everybody in the world would understand. It is daylight and dark. My hot stuff story is I was 21 years old, September of 1991. I'm in Savannah, Georgia, watching the Clash of Champions, and it was my first television debut as an interview with Missy Hyatt. And I'm in the dressing room, and I see Tom Zink go walking by me, and I was like, man, he's a lot smaller than I thought, which is what wrestlers and bodybuilders get a lot of times, because on TV we look much bigger. I've got that my whole life. And when they see me with my shirt off, they're like, oh my God, you're huge. But sometimes when you're lean, it just takes it different. So he walks by and literally looked like he had food poisoning, sick. He was so light looking to me. Mm-hmm. And in 20 minutes, no more than 25, he looked like a pro bodybuilder. Wow. And I am Mr. Ask. And I said, excuse me, you don't know who I am, but what did you just do? And he goes, and he held this bottle up. He said, I put this on. It's called hot stuff. I went straight and bought bottles of it. I wore it. Wow. I would wear it to the gym. I wore it everywhere I could wear it, but it smelled so bad. People were like, and it wasn't like a stinky smell. It was just, who's got the icy hot on? You know, it was that kind of smell.
Right.
And, but you had to have a special closet for it. But during the heyday, Scott body guy, it was like crack cocaine. It was like, who's got the hot stuff? Bagwell, who's got, and I always had it. So, but then a bunch of the wrestlers and it just happened to be the wrestlers that wasn't in shape, ironically, don't know, but the wrestlers that wasn't body guys, that's a nice way to say it. The wrestlers that wasn't body guys hated it. They hated it. Right. And it would stay, and it did affect some guys' eyes, but it got really thrown out of proportion with allergic to it, and it's driving me crazy. And you're talking about something that I would have fist fought over it to put it on before Nitro. That's how important it was to me and Scott Steiner. Both of us would have fist fought before somebody said, you can't wear that. But the whole time this is happening at WCW, at the WWF, it was being outlawed. Wow. So by the time we got there, we couldn't wear it. But during the run, there was one time we were doing a promo at WCW, and I tried to put some on before an interview we were doing, but the interview was inside of a limo, and I didn't know it. Oh. And Hulk Hogan
close
was
quarters.
Like, only you, Bagwell, would put hot stuff on. I said, I swear to God, I didn't know it was in the limo, man. I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
every guy that had a decent body understood that it really, really took you from looking pretty good to looking really good. It vasculated. It made you more vascular
Okay.
with a sheen, and if you were white, a little bit pale, where you couldn't tan for a couple days, it put instant color on you to the point it made you red. But then by the time when it died down, you were tan by the time if you knew what you were doing with it. It
Wow.
was really magic.
Wow, that's incredible. So we got some super chats here. So we've got John here with the 199 super chat. Really appreciate that, John. Will you tell my friend Doug that you're the stuff? I think he wants a I'm buff and I'm the stuff promo here. You willing to give him
Absolutely.
that?
I am buff. I am the stuff, and the girls can't get enough.
Love it. And that is for John's buddy Doug here. Appreciate you. And we've got Becky Johnson here. It's being picky tonight.
It is.
I remember. There you go. You got it. Becky Johnson here. When you were with Scott Steiner, when he was doing his promos towards the end, were you ever afraid he might get too carried away? Sometimes you looked like you thought he was going to great. He was going to great to see you.
Okay. Yeah. I even though it's a couple words missing there, I totally understand what you're saying, Becky. And the answer is yes. Scott Steiner was completely out of control. And at that junction, I was the only one that really could talk to him. But I was still scared to death too. I mean, when you saw me holding Scotty back, that wasn't me being a good actor. I was really trying to hold Scotty back, looking like a flag on a flagpole, but I was really trying to hold him back. He was really, just vocal, and as more than anybody was, but he looked so incredible, and it was such an incredible time for both of us. One week he would be in trouble with somebody for doing something, and the next week it would be me, and we just got in trouble a lot because we vocally said what we were, what we thought, and in any business you're in, that's going to cause problems. But to me, I agree with everything Scotty did. It's just he did it sometimes maybe the wrong way, and of course I was trying to keep him out of trouble,
Right.
and because he was going to. I mean, that night there was a J.J. Dillon skit where he was really trying to kill J.J. Dillon.
Wow.
And if you watch that skit, I think he wrestled the one half of High Voltage that night, and the blonde haired kid. And I remember really trying to keep in between him and J.J. Dillon because I was scared he was going to kill J.J.
Would you say that he was oftentimes unhinged, or is that just he's just an intense individual? That's just Scotty.
He was definitely unhinged a couple of times. I was scared. I was scared for JJ. And I kept saying, Scotty, they're going to fire you, bro. I mean, if you could have heard me, I was like, look, man, it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. They're going to fire you, But like Becky could see in my actions, you could see I was worried,
Right. Well, he made it easy for you to be reactive in those situations, I suppose. I guess that's the positive way to look at it.
I mean, it made for great interviews because, he just came off the cuff, and and everything he talked about was true. It's just, it was just unhinged, him trying to tell it sometimes.
Sure. And we've got an interesting question here from Sexy C the God. What's up, Buff? I enjoyed your work in WCW as both Marcus Alexander Bagwell and Buff the Stuff. What advice would you give a guy getting into stripping? I'm considering it at an older age, 40.
Hey, let me tell you, I made a hell of a living doing that. I've got no shame in it whatsoever. I believe it paid the bills for me to make it. I was stripping at a place called the Lemon Pill in Atlanta, Georgia, off Buford Highway at 18 years old, 18, 19, 20. I remember being at the and a replay of Global was on, and the boys and the dancers was watching me on TV. They all knew I was trying to become a wrestler. So that without that business for me, that helped me make it. So I think it's a great thing to do as long as you do it right. And there's a way to do everything right. All the boys were partying. I was over there eating tuna and rice and didn't drink alcohol. And, they were taking some drugs and I didn't. I was trying to be a pro wrestler. So it's all how you take anything you do. But I took that and used it as a stepping stone to do something with it. And when you do something like that, there's nothing wrong with it. So I had a great time doing it and a lot of fun, and I made a lot of money doing it.
Excellent. We got another question here from Country Roads. What do you think of AEW? And I was actually going to ask you, do you watch a lot of what's going on these days in either WWE, AEW, TNA?
I do.
Okay. And what do you think of AEW?
I do. And, I have a hard time watching the spots they do at AEW. I mean, every time I see them do something, it's just stuff that we would have gotten fired over. We would have gotten fired over it. When you see like a spot, which is like a move they're going to do, it's a spot. The spot they do where like 5 guys are waiting for a 160-pound guy to jump off on them. I mean, it just cringes my skin to watch that because it's not real. It's not reality, but the moves are so unbelievably cool. I think my new favorite wrestler is Will Ospreay.
He's great. He is a very talented individual.
Like an AJ Styles type, but AJ's got charisma too, but this kid's got a ton of charisma. I think he's my favorite. He really is great in the ring. Kyle Fletcher and him had a match the other night, and I watched them. And for me to even know those 2 names tells you I watch AEW. And they tie it together and they make it entertaining. But there's just, to me, last night there was way too many false finishes and way too many, flip flop flying. If they would just cut those in half, it would have been spectacular. And that's my opinion. So, everybody's got one of those, but I really still enjoy the product. I enjoy both products, the WWE and AEW. And I just enjoy watching wrestling and just sitting there and it's very much entertainment to me and I love it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the false finishes. I feel like that's something that is, something that you see a lot in the newer generation of wrestlers and just the product in general these days. I go back to watching, you do like a blockbuster. How many times did guys kick out of a blockbuster? Very, very, very few.
Very few.
Yeah.
But when you did, it meant something.
Exactly. Yeah. It carried the storyline
Jake's big argument with DDTs were they just became a high spot. That was a finishing move. They would hit you with a DDT blockbuster and then roll you up and pin you. So they just didn't do the storyline right with the stuff. But it's just, to me, I remember getting in trouble for covering a guy too many times because, like, for example, during a comeback, you do hot tag and you do clothesline, elbow, run the guys' heads together. If you covered right there, the crowd, boom, gone.
Sure.
Dead. But so I never covered a person during the comeback, and I would get in trouble for not covering them at least once. But he goes, Mark, you got to try to win. If you don't look like you're trying to win, what are you doing? And I understood that, but it wasn't worth the crowd, losing the crowd. So if you ever watched a comeback by Mark Bagwell, it was clothesline, elbow, double head knocker, and into the next move maybe, and then a faulty for boom, but just 1 or 2 false finishes a match. There was 10 incredible false finishes, but 10 of them last night, and a great match. But you make that 2 false finishes, and I think it'd have been a much better match.
Yeah, I think it kind of interrupts it, when they have all that. And I think of Cody Rhodes. I'm a huge fan of him. I love the Crossroads, but man, he pulls his move out. I don't know how many times in a match, and it almost dilutes it to where, all right, it's not it doesn't have that same impact, you know, and it's along the lines of what Jake said about the DDT. And I will say this, there's nothing more devastating for any DDT than the way that Jake does that. Nobody touches him with the DDT, but
Right.
yeah, it dilutes it, and it makes it seem like the move just doesn't have the same merit that it would have,
Sure.
if they didn't have as many false finishes. So
I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan, but I don't like to me, it looks like Cody's taking much more of the punishment on the crossroads than he's given the punishment. But the crowd loves it and the fans love it.
sure.
But he does, I feel like, and again, it ain't up to him. It's up to the writers a lot of times, but he does go to it a little too much. But again, that's an opinion. So, he's the world champ, and I love that. He's well deserves it. I'm glad to see him carrying it.
Right. And I love the stuff that he pulls back, as a nod to Dusty as well. He pulls a lot of his old stuff into the mix as well, which certainly gets a pop with the crowd. So love that you can keep all that, the legacy alive, so to speak, by incorporating that into the mix too.
Absolutely.
So we got RC from NYC here with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, RC. What's up, Buff? What's up, Chase? What's up, everyone? Hope all are safe and well and following Buff's lead, surviving and thriving. Love it.
Thank you so much, bro. That's incredible.
Appreciate that.
Yes,
very supportive. And we've got One Man Crew here. Buff, we need to have a rematch someday, brother. It's so great to see you well and healthy. You're the man. One Man Crew.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's nice. Maybe Mississippi area. I wrestled.
I'm familiar, actually. I believe he's also a rapper, if I'm not mistaken. One Man Crew. I believe he's also a rapper.
Yes, I think Mississippi's where I had that match with him.
Okay, excellent. And when was this? A few years back?
Oh yeah, like
more than a few years back.
More than a few.
Okay, gotcha. Well, you've got one thing I got to say about you, Mark. You remember everything, but not just like I can remember certain things. You remember the day of the week, the date, the time. Like you remember things down to a T, which is just absolutely incredible.
I don't know how. I really don't. I mean, like, it's nothing special I do. I really believe that pro wrestling helped that because, remembering finishes was not easy, man. It was very hard. And the practice of that over 20 years. But even during that 20, I remember saying something and people going, oh my God, how'd you remember that? So I just was very, almost my memory's almost photographic, man. It really is really good. But then every once in a while, like the broke nose tape on my nose with Nash.
Right. Yep.
I did not remember me having tape on my nose. I remember breaking my nose. I remember the match with him. I remember how he broke it. The knee lift.
Yeah.
I told you about.
You were to the T on all that stuff too. So
I told you all that, but I didn't remember the nose bleeding, and I didn't remember the tape on my nose, and me following the match up the next week. But that was. But this having a good memory helps a lot with telling these stories we're doing on YouTube. I really love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you make my life easier too, because I've checked on it, a few things. I'm like, all right, I got to check, make sure the date. And you got 100% success rate on your memory.
Really?
Nothing has been off. Like your name and dates. And I'm like, how does he, because we'll talk things through before we film. And I'm like, how could he possibly, I'm Googling stuff there. I'm like, damn, he's August 16th. 2000. Yeah, he's on point. So I appreciate that. You make it easier for me. So
good. I'm glad. But yeah, it does definitely help.
Absolutely.
Stacy's always talking about my memory. Like, oh my God, it's incredible.
It is. And you've had, it's not like this stuff was yesterday too. So you're remembering stuff from a long time ago. There's been a lot of years in between. So we've got one here from A Long Story Short. My sister would run in the room every time Buff was on Monday Nitro, and she didn't care if he didn't know how to do a wrist lock or work the leg.
That's coming from the work the leg or wrist lock. I love that. And it didn't matter. I remember not having any idea what any of those things were. And me and Benoit went out. I just did what he told me to do. And, I faked it till I could make it. And then Dusty Rhodes came out and said, wait a minute, you didn't tell me you knew how to wrestle. And I said, I thought you knew I knew how to wrestle, but I just didn't know none of the names of them, but I just could kind of faked it till I made it, man. But thanks a lot. That makes me feel good that she ran into the room. A lot of the girls wasn't, big fans. I remember first going into the indies when the WWF thing went south. First going to the indies, I could walk in a club and not a chick in the place knew who I was, but every dude in there did. And I'm like, man, can we have a couple of girls talk to us? What's going on, man? But they were like, can I get a selfie? I go, you just took two, So definitely the dudes were bigger fans of Buff Bagwell for sure. It was a wonderful time for wrestling and a great time to be on TV with wrestling. And it was a great time to be a wrestling fan during the 90s, man. It was just a great time for wrestling.
Absolutely. I agree. We've got so many great comments in here. I mean, I gotta thank the audience here. I mean, this is incredible. And with this being our first time, I didn't know if it was going to just be, Mark and I and two other people in here, but we've got 157 in the live chat here tonight.
Really?
I mean, this is incredible. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So, I'm buffing on the stuff over here. We got Ozzy. It's too bad WCW didn't last. I love the Monday Nitro Wars. The 90s were the best. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, can everybody possibly imagine what it could have been like? We've all done this 1,000 times, loving WCW, but WCW versus the WWF every WrestleMania. I mean, it's what everybody hoped and wished for years, and we had a small taste of it, and then it went away.
Yeah, I mean, it was good for business, though. I mean, it's to only have one game in town, and I don't think it's good for business.
It's not. It's like having a McDonald's for fast food. If you notice where there's a McDonald's, there's a Burger King, Wendy's, and something else beside it. Everybody knows that McDonald's is going to win the most money, but still they make money because competition makes money for everybody. Without competition for Vince, that's not good. There's got to be more than one wrestling company. Imagine there being one football team. Who cares who the quarterback is? Who cares? There's at least got to be two teams for there to be any fun and any action. And with wrestling, at the most we've ever had at times was 3, and it was the best wrestling ever was, though. There just needs to be competition, brings everybody up, and it makes it much better for everybody.
Right. And I think that you could, attribute the the increase in popularity these days to that too. You got your AEW, you got WWE, you've got TNA has been making waves again, and then there's a lot of other promotions out there that are great. Just on the, I guess on the upside of like the indies and stuff like that. So it's an exciting time. I think they've credited The Rock as bringing it back, but I think there's just so much more going on than just The Rock. Not to take away from him, he's phenomenal, but a lot of great stuff happening right now.
There is, but when he came back, he called Dallas during that time and was bragging on Butterbean's video and a couple my video, and he was just talking a voicemail over with Dallas Page, and he said it hadn't been as cool as it was when he came back, and he wasn't bragging on him. He was just saying the feeling of it, hadn't been like that since the NWO run, and 24 years ago. And that would have been, right when WWF took over and WCW was gone. He goes, it just hasn't been that kind of feeling when he came out and showed his chill bumps, he pointed at his arm with the chill bumps. He goes, it's been 24 years, 2.5 decades,
It's true. Yeah. It has been a long time. This is a great question here. And we're going to talk about this in depth, I think, in a lot of the future episodes here as well. But if you could pinpoint one, because I think it's a lot of moving parts to this, but if you could pinpoint one thing here, what started WCW's downfall in your opinion?
Oh man. I mean, I really think it was when they brought, and I'm not blaming him for it. I'm saying this is my beginning of what I think started the downfall, which was bringing Vince Russo in. It just didn't feel right. It felt like something was, there was automatically rumors about this guy used to write for the WWE, I mean
Sure.
WWF, and now he's coming into us. He's sabotaging us. There was automatically rumors, and the first promise he made to all of the top guys was that he was never, let me say that word again, never going to be on television. And within, I don't know how long, but I think only a couple of weeks, I think he was our world champion. So it was just crazy that it went from, hey, y'all's problem at WCW is the promoter, the head guy, whether Bischoff, Sullivan, Flair, whoever's running the show, he was trying to make himself to be a star. I'm not going to do that. But he did do that. So it was crazy on how that happened. But I think that's not the reason, but that's definitely the start of what happened.
Yeah. It seems like that definitely has an effect on the end result. But yeah, I'm sure it's a lot of moving parts to. It's a tough question to ask.
It is a tough
to
question.
pinpoint it. But we've got Jackson White here. Mark, love you, brother. You're the man.
This guy's one of my best friends, really good guy. Hey, Jackson, what's going on, buddy? I love you. This guy lives up in Tennessee, and he actually took me and Stacy to a baseball game in Atlanta here. He came down with his church group, and really great guy, great family. Him and his old man his old man was a huge fan of mine, and his old man passed away, and and it kind of brought me and Jackson close because of all the Buff memories and stuff. So we stay in. He's a big supporter of me. He's thrilled that I'm sober, and he's one of those guys that's a genuine friend. And when he calls, and I'm real good about getting back with people, even being Buff Bagwell, always. But I've not called him back lately. But again, he's just one of those guys that's always there. He's a friend, and I love him very much. Good talking to you, Jackson.
That's awesome. What a great story.
Yes.
And sorry, Jackson, to hear the loss. We've got another one here from Warhawk Rambo. Buff, do you like Star Trek?
Man, gosh. First of all, I love your name, but I got to tell you, I bet you, and this is probably going to shock you, brother, but I bet you I've never watched an entire episode of Star Trek. I bet you I haven't watched 5 minutes of Star Trek. I don't know why, because I am a huge Star Wars guy. But now I'm not deep Star Wars. I'm like Star Wars, New Hope, Return of the Jedi, and The Empire Strikes Back. Whatever order those go in, those 3 were incredible. I was all in. But after it started coming out with all the other ones, I didn't even watch them, didn't care. It got confusing to me. But Star Trek, never watched more than a 10-minute clip of it. I just told my girlfriend today, William Shatner was on a billboard. And I said, do you know he's the highest paid guy at every Comic-Con? And she was like, "You're kidding." I said, "No, oh yeah, he gets like $100,000, man."
Wow.
Yeah,
he does a lot of them. I know that he's at like everything.
He is like the number one draw at all of the Comic-Cons. He is the man at Comic-Cons.
I wouldn't have guessed that. Wow, that's incredible.
Yes. And I saw him on an episode of Gunsmoke the other day.
Really?
Yes. William Shatner. If you do your Google search, you will see William Shatner was in Gunsmoke.
All right. I'll have to look into that. And we've got this one here. Buff, you suck. You can't win with everybody, but he gave you $2 to let you know. So.
And I'm glad. Thank you for the $2. I hate what I'd like to know. I mean, seriously, I'd give you $2 back if you could tell me why you think that. A lot of times when I get this is usually when I hear it's always through a party of somebody else. The person don't like me. I very rarely in my life, it's happened, but I very rarely come across a person that just flat out don't like me. It's something they've heard I've done, something they've heard I've said. It's
Sure.
not firsthand. And if I had not a nickel, but if I had $1 for every time I've heard, man, you're a lot nicer than I thought you were going to be, I'd be a millionaire. So a lot of
Sure.
times when I hear these things, I guarantee you, if Dredrick, if
Dredrick
Dredrick
Tatum.
Tatum called me, he doesn't like me for something he's heard or something that he heard I did,
Sure.
because nobody's met me and said, Bagwell sucks. It just
Right.
don't happen a lot of times. It's kind of like you
But
don't hear a bunch of stone guys killed people. That just usually don't happen.
right. But you know what? That's wrestling though. Sometimes sometimes it's good to have heat like that. Sometimes, I mean, that's a part of it. I go
I've
back
had
to
people
people
walk
that
up
I
to my
couldn't stand. What's that?
Yeah, I've had people walk up to my table and completely cuss me out over what I did on TV and then buy every picture on my table. And I'm like, "Thank you, sir."
Exactly. That's my
So
point.
so yeah, so I think there's like a happy medium there for sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I go back to, like, there's wrestlers that I just could never stand. Bradshaw's one of them. JBL. I could never stand the guy. You'll appreciate this, but I just could never stand him. And then I reflected on it recently, and I just thought, you know what? More power to him. He's a heel, and he did his job. He made me hate his guts for
Right.
the last 25 years. So, I guess that's a testament to what he's capable of.
Yes.
There's another side to it.
Absolutely. He did a great job, I thought, out in Cauliflower Alley,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I saw a whole other side to him there. But again, I never was around him. I was around
Mhm.
him just long enough for him to beat me up.
Power
And
bombed you. Yeah, I remember that. It was
and
brutal.
I'm sure that he was told to do it, and
Sure.
I get it. I mean, I'm the new kid on the block, and he's causing trouble. Let's beat him up a little bit. I get it. I didn't understand him doing it being dark. I'd rather him beat me up where people could at least saw it. But
Yeah. Yeah, make it for something, right. That
right.
makes sense. And we got one here from, Suffa Horse. "Buff, glad you're clean and sober, doing the YouTube thing. I'm absolutely loving your stories from the WCW days."
Man, I could sit here all day. As a matter of fact, that's what we do all day long, 4 days a week. I mean, 4 days a month. We sit here and talk about all the stories, and I don't really think that Chase even really knew sitting down how much I had bottled up inside me to talk about, and I'm not sure I knew. But man, I was there for the whole ride.
Yep.
Thank God for us. My memory's really good with that as well. And so we have a lot to talk about and a lot to share. But it was a great time. Like again, there's so many stories we haven't even got to yet, man. And I mean, I was just thinking of one when I used to go outside center stage and beg people to come in to watch our television taping. We needed 500 people to look like they were somebody there, and we had to give a bicycle away halfway through to do a television taping. So I
Wow.
watched WCW go from "please come in and watch us" to selling out the Georgia Dome with 80,000 people. It was a
Incredible.
crazy ride, but a lot of great stories in there. And thanks for the sobriety thing, brother. 2 years, August 27th. So 2 years and rolling, and I love it, man. I love it so much. I love my sobriety. So thank you for noticing, man.
Love it. And we got another one. I don't want to skip over some other people here, but this is actually a very good friend of mine, and he is 3 years sober now. So he's on that same path.
All right. All right. Do you know what his drug of choice was?
I think it was alcohol. I think alcohol was his thing. So he's
So
3 years sober. Yep.
so weird you said that. This go around, you gotta realize, guys, I'm 54 years old. So I'm an older, I used to be the youngest guy at the table. And I was the youngest guy at the table by far. And now I'm the oldest guy at the table by far. It's really weird. But I'm telling you, man, this go around, when I went to rehab, I was like, "What is your drug of choice?" And they said alcohol. And I said, "No, no, no. What is your drug of choice?" And they said alcohol. I went, "What?" Because I always thought you went to rehab for drugs, for
Sure. Yep.
cocaine or heroin or even marijuana, whatever, prescription pills was mine. But I mean, I drank along the way, but it wasn't my drug of choice. But man, I think with COVID, I really believe this in my heart. I think with COVID happening, that it went alcohol. It was not even a place for the word, what's your DOC anymore. Everybody's was alcohol. Really crazy.
Right.
But congratulations on 3 years, brother.
That's excellent. Very good. Very good. And here's a good question here. Did you wrestle La Parka, Buff?
Wow, as soon as I saw the word, I remember the match. It was one of those things that I didn't understand. The writers wrote a thing where I didn't care that I was losing to La Parka. And I'm sure you can probably find it, Chase. But there's a match out there that I act really like lackadaisical and just late. And I may have won the match, but I don't think I do. I think he beats me because I just act like I don't care. And after the interview, after the match, they wanted me to say that I'm not going to be Buff Bagwell no more. And I'm like, what are we doing? And why are we doing that? But It was crazy. But I do remember having a match with La Parka. And it was the only one I can remember. I'm sure we wrestled more than that. But the one I remember was very strange because I had to do something that I've never done before, which was act like I didn't care. And I think I lost to him because I just was like, oh, just pin me, man. I don't care. For some reason, the sign was having me be like a pouty baby. I didn't care to win or lose.
Right. And what else do we have here? We got some more. Guys, this is incredible here. 186 in here, and it's just comment after comment. This is really incredible stuff. So I just got to take a moment to thank everybody for joining us here. This is just absolutely blowing me away here.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it really is something. I'm going to ask you a question though. What made you dive into YouTube? Because I know that I reached out to you and all that, but what made you want to do this?
That's a great question. Well, I think my whole life, I say whole life, from WCW getting bought by the WWF and then going to the WWE and all that, from a very first of the technology days, which is around 2001. Keep in mind, people didn't have cell phones in 99, 2000. So 2001 was kind of the beginning of technology for the major technology. So I just knew instantly that there was money with computers. I just knew there was some type of money having a website. I knew it was some kind of avenue to be able to talk to the world. And there had to be something, but it just takes a lot of moving parts for that to come through.
Yep.
And Chase just, you kind of kept, asking me to do it. And then finally, when I heard the whole thing that you had presented, I was like, this is crazy enough to give this a go. But if anybody can watch any of the stuff we're doing and they can't see that I am really enjoying it, they're just missing the whole thing. I love talking about wrestling. I love talking about old memories. I've got a bunch of great ones, a bunch of bad ones, and I remember them all. And I tell them all, from shooting my dad to winning WCW tag team belts in Nashville, North Carolina. I remember them all, and I remember them clearly. And here's the main thing, they're all the truth. So they're good stories that you can do all the checking you want. And when you come back, you're going to see that it was what I said was the facts. But I enjoy talking about the wrestling business. I enjoy talking about my life and the time in the business.
For sure. And the transparency just speaks volumes of you, Mark. You tell the good, the bad, and the ugly. You don't leave anything out. A lot of people with social media in general, we put out what we want people to absorb from us. You put it all out there, and
Yes.
I just have a lot of respect for that. And I think that's really, why a lot of people gravitate towards you and have been watching these videos, because it's not just, this is all the things I've accomplished. It's everything, from shooting your dad, like you said, to, how much money you made off of a video game. It's everything. You don't leave
The
any
first
stone unturned.
transparency is, to me, is the key to sobriety. I didn't learn transparency with sobriety. I came from a very transparent family. We were a very honest, truthful family, and we were taught to be honest and truthful. It don't mean you're always truthful, but I mean, it's just, again, the background of us was very transparent. I never really hid any of my stuff. I mean, it was open that I was in rehab. And at the end, I got kind of closed off, but it was a very open thing. So transparency now, though, ironically, even though it's a big part of my life, it is to me, a key in staying sober, because I go to a doctor's office and I'm like, hey, I'm 2 years sober, so let's just get that out of the way right now. And so I'm just very transparent, but transparency means a lot with your sobriety, because you don't got to worry about nothing. And, a long time ago, I watched a neighbor that just lied about everything to his wife. And I watched how hard it was for him to tell all these lies. And I was like, oh my God, that's overwhelming. And so I learned that, in this order, that telling the truth was easier. And
Right.
by being easier, wait a second, you mean I'm a better person telling the truth? This is a no-brainer. My life is easier and I'm a better person. The truth sets you free is what I believe. And that's why I try to tell the truth, man. I mean, the documentary Dark Side did. I mean, you can't get 2 ex-wives and a father you shot on television and them talk good about you. Come on, guys. I mean, there's got to be some transparency there of Mark Bagwell must be a pretty good, honest guy.
Right.
For these 2 wives and a guy that he shot, go, man, he's a piece of crap. But that's not what they said, because it's not what I am. So thank you, all you guys, for tuning in. And I am so excited to be as transparent as I can possibly be through all of this, man. I'm going to tell all my stories, which leads me to the first time I told the shoot my dad story. I told Kevin Nash in a hotel room, the Admiral Benbow in Jacksonville, Florida. And I told him, and as soon as I told him, he looked at me and he rolled over, grabbed the phone, and called Steve Austin. He goes, come down to my room. And I told him and Steve Austin, and I can't remember the second person he called, but then I told it again. And I go, Kevin, call everybody and let me tell it one more time. So Kevin called a bunch of wrestlers down to Admiral Benbow, down to our room. And I told it one last time, and you could just tell the way I told it. I just told it 20 times exactly how it happened. And they were like, man, this guy's crazy. We didn't know it, but very transparent.
For sure. And there's that excellent memory again. I can't tell you where I stayed in Marietta last week, but where you stayed when you told Austin and Nash and all the other guys this story probably 30 years ago. So,
and if you ask Kevin Nash about that, we talked all night without a pill, without alcohol. We talked. At Kevin on my side, talking to each other all night long, and he can see the window, and he goes, Bagwell, look outside. And I turned, and it was daylight. And I go, we've talked all night. He goes, yeah. And the last story I told was shoot my father's story. And he was blown away, man. He was like, what?
Incredible. So we got a controversial question here from Paulie A. Fontaine. Buff, this may be a controversial question, but what are your thoughts on the Benoit disaster in 2007? Love seeing you on YouTube. Keep up the great work. And I will say this before I turn it over. We actually have a video that will be coming out in the next couple of weeks, kind of talking about this, but it is a controversial question. It is a tough one, but I'll turn it over to Marcus for that.
You sure you're going to turn it over to me?
We'll see.
Is that okay?
We'll see. I'm doing the best I can.
Okay. So in 2007, when we heard this, just like Vince McMahon, we thought it was crazy. We thought he for sure had been murdered, and we thought somebody had murdered his family, his kid, and it just the furthest thing from mine. And then when you started hearing, all the news coming out that, he had done it, you can create anything in your mind. I mean, he was intense. He was the Wolverine. He was tough. He was strong. He took testosterone, which was called steroids back then, and now it's called TRT, testosterone replacement treatment. So, it's just whatever we want to make of it, we can make of it. But the truth of the story is, I bet you Chris Benoit's got a clean criminal record. I bet he don't have a DUI. I bet he was never in trouble. I bet he never went to jail. And nobody maybe will ever know. But, we really did think that he had been murdered, and was really shocked to know that he had killed his family and killed himself. It was really, some of the things I heard in there, again, I don't know if they're true, but the things I heard, like I heard his blood alcohol content was a 0.0, and I heard there was a bottle of wine in front of him. So I know for a fact he went to the doctor either that day or the day before. So it means he had a bunch of pills, and he's got alcohol in front of him. And I don't know what the the blood test said on pills, but he had a 0.0 blood alcohol. I really believe he got ready to kill himself and then just said F it and hung himself. And that bothers me to know he was hurting that bad, because I love Chris Benoit. We were great friends, and believe me, it wasn't like we liked to hear that he killed his family. It hurt us. We were like, oh man, crap. And that's not good. I mean, we lost another wrestler on top of that, and now we've lost, two innocent people along with it. So it was really, really bad, devastating news.
Yeah, for sure. And we got some better news here from Dredrick Tatum. He just said that you suck just for fun. So you won him over already.
I love it. I love it. Thanks. I like your name, Dedrick.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Let's see. So I'm
just blown away at the amount of people that are tuned in on our night one.
210 at the moment. Yeah.
Again, guys, hey, thank you guys so much, man. A round of applause for tuning into us. It makes me excited.
Absolutely. And this is one here. All right. So a $2 super chat here from a wrestling historian. What's the story of the backstage fight with DDP?
I was right there. I got it. Now, I don't know. He's asking like it's a fight with me in Dallas, but do you know what fight he's talking about, Chase?
I don't. So that's why I'm excited to bring this one up. Turn it over to you.
I'm guessing it's the fight with Scott Steiner and him. Maybe he can answer us back right quick. If that happens, let me know.
Wrestling historian, hit us back if you can.
If it is that, which that's the only fight I know about with Dallas Page, it was me and Lex Luger were doing a Goldberg interview in Richmond, Virginia. And we're backstage with Goldberg's books, and we've got a promo to do live on Nitro. And we're backstage getting ready to do it. And we've got our lines down. We're going to go over with the book, making fun of his book and making fun of him. And we had a little skit where we were going to do being totally buff. And Scott Steiner was in it with us. And so we're waiting for Scotty. And it's like a minute before our interview. And we see this big commotion down there. And it's Scotty trying to rip Dallas Page's eyeball out.
Wow.
And I mean, Dallas went at him. Dallas is tough, really tough. And and a lot of all the guys know that, but still he's a tough guy. But Scotty Steiner's a whole nother galaxy of tough. So but Dallas went in there, waist locked him. They went down, he had him, but he was trying to work his hand up to rake his eyeball out. And Dallas was scratched up and stuff. But the funny part is with 20 seconds to go, I see Scotty walking toward us, and he's putting his headdress on, and 5, 4, 3, and Scotty just stares right into the promo, and nobody knows that he just got in a fight with Dallas Page and tried to rip his eyeball out.
Wow. Well, unhinged. Unhinged.
Unhinged.
There you go. Wow.
Unhinged. But he
We've
didn't
got
miss a
Dwayne over
beat.
here. It certainly doesn't. Uh, was you ever known as Fabian? I can remember Jesse Ventura at times calling you Fabian from time to time.
Wow. A couple things there. Yes, I was Fabian. But I don't remember Jesse doing that. Maybe Jesse thought the same thing that the guy that named me that. So Fabian was if you Google Fabian, he was a country singer that wore his hair up straight up high, kind of like I do mine. Even back as Marcus Alexander Bagwell, I wore my hair kind of up. But at a young age, I'm wait a minute, hold on that. Yeah. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm totally wrong. And I've messed up a story and I'm going to correct it because of my memory. That's not true. Let me start. The Fabulous Fabian was my very first gimmick, very first gimmick ever. And I was called the Fabulous Fabian. And, but now Fabian was also a singer. So these two stories are kind of confusing because they're kind of the same. So my first character was Fabulous Fabian and a guy named Steve Lawler that trained me, and Joe Pedicino from North Georgia Championship Wrestling. Him and Bonnie Blackstone, they were married. They named me this name. So my first wrestling name was the Fabulous Fabian, and there was a singer named Fabian that they named me after. At WCW, as Marcus Alexander Bagwell, Arn Anderson and some of the older guys called me Furlan. And I didn't know what they were talking about. I was like, Furlan? I thought maybe yearling, like a young deer or something like that. I didn't know. So I go home and I tell my dad, I go, Dad, they keep calling me Furlan. And my dad just falls out laughing. He goes, oh my God, that's so funny. He goes, Furlan Husky. So you need to Google the name Furlan Husky. Furlan Husky was a country singer that wore high, like I did as Marcus Alexander Bagwell. And so they called me Furlan because of the singer's hair. I look like his hair. But yes to Fabian. The Fabulous Fabian was my first character ever. And it was a singer's name. But Jesse calling me that kind of shocks me because he pretty rare. I wasn't very popular as the Fabulous Fabian, but that was my first character.
That's right. And we sat down with Ranger Ross when we were out in Las Vegas, and you had a great interview with him. So you actually talked about some stories from those early days as Fabulous Fabian. So for the viewers out here, if you haven't checked out that video, check it out because, I've got to meet some really cool people through Marcus here, and Ranger Ross, man, without question, my favorite so far. Just an outstanding guy. So definitely check out that video.
That one caught us off guard. That was a great video. He's a great guy. And he goes back to the very first day of my pro wrestling career 33 and a half years ago, under this Fabian character, under Joe Pedicino and Bonnie Blackstone, North Georgia Wrestling. Ranger Ross was like the world champion for them during this time. And he was one of the first guys to really make me feel comfortable there. He was a super nice guy 33 and a half years ago, and he's still super nice to this day.
Right. And one of the first people to come down from the rafters, I learned too, which was very interesting. He came down with a flag from the rafters. I forget what venue it was, but incredible story.
Oh, wow. I think that was a Clash of Champions. I think that's crazy.
It was. That's right. It was. Yes. And it was one where Ric Flair was the main event, but I can't remember. I want to say like 88 or 89, but it was, yeah, you're right.
And there's value with that red, white, and blue thing, man. It's just an automatic fan get with you thing. I mean, when we were Stars and Stripes, I told you this story. When we were Stars and Stripes, I mean, no matter where you go, you've got that USA, US. You got that chant, man, that's going to get everybody with you. The bad part of our run was a double-edged sword, good and bad, was Jim Duggan came in the same time. So on the same card, you got that USA chant
Right.
being used twice.
Yeah, it
You
gets
know,
played out. I can see
it
that.
gets kind of played out, and people still did it. But it wasn't quite the power it could have been if it would have just been Jimbo or just been us for the USA chant. But it was still a lot of fun and such a great time to chant that USA.
Absolutely. And we've got Brad Gaines here. Hey, Buff, you were a big inspiration for me to start working out and get healthy. Who is the most impressive wrestler you ever worked out in the gym with? I'm going to guess Luger. That would be my guess as well. Lex Luger.
Well, let me tell you, you're exactly right. The total package, Lex Luger, is exactly that word. He is the total package. He had everything it took to become the best. He knew how to do it. He was intelligent enough to explain it. Um, he had a little different training session that I was used to, which was called reverse pyramid. We would do and it made the most sense in the world to me after I heard it. But you do your heaviest weight first. And again, if you tell somebody that, they're going to think they're going to tear their pec, and they're not going to listen to the proper way to do it. But reverse pyramid's really scary unless you can trust somebody like Lex Luger that's done it. But like, for example, we would warm up twice, not 135, 185, 225. You just worked out. We would do 135 15 times twice. And our first set was 315 for 8.
Wow.
Then you lowered the weight and did 10, lowered the weight and did 12. Reverse pyramid, not 8, 10, 12. I mean, not 12, 10, 8. You did 8, 10, 12. Your heaviest weight at your freshest. And man, Buff Bagwell was created. Lex really dialed me in on that. And I hooked my wagon to the total package, and he took us to places I never thought I could go with my body.
Wow. That's incredible. Yeah, that was definitely my guess. He said
Scotty was incredible, but Scotty trained at midnight. I couldn't get on his schedule, and he liked training by himself anyway. Me and Luger made a great tag team and a great tag team in the gym. We loved working out together, but Scotty was a loner in the gym, and he liked training at midnight, so I couldn't do that one.
Well, plus you traveled with Lex as well, rental cars, hotels, everything. So it makes sense to do that as well. We got a question here from Hertz Davis, which is a great one. Thoughts on the Virgil passing? He talked highly about you.
Man, Virgil was such a great guy. He was there. He was in the match the night I broke my neck. And matter of fact, he's the one that was trying to pull me out of the ring when I was paralyzed. And Scott Norton was like, stop. He's really hurt, So, but he was there for a lot of things with me, and just a really great guy, man. Really hate losing him. He was in bad shape. I did a couple of signings with him right before he died, and he was very quiet about what was wrong with him, but there was something bad wrong with Virgil at the end. I just don't know what it was. He had a caretaker guy named Sean, but I don't know who Sean really was. But he was in a bad spot, not alcohol, not drug related. He was just off health wise and was very sick late. So I hated to hear that one.
Yeah, that's tough to hear for sure. We've got Z over here, simple name. Sometimes I got to pronounce some names that just are tough. So I really appreciate this one here, Z. I think I got you on that one without issue. I'm so glad you were doing this. Great stories and memories. Glad you're doing well. Who gave you the greatest guidance throughout your career? Great question.
Great question. It would be two people. It would be Sting and Lex Luger. Their advice, not just one. There was everybody gave me something I could chew on, but Lex and Sting gave me advice that I carry to this day. So they just knew about life. They knew about the business. They knew how to keep heat off of you and how to get heat on you. I mean, they knew how to survive in this business. And I took their playbook in the hand and I went with their playbook because they were extremely successful. And to this day, if I've got a question, I call Lex or I call Sting, and I'll ask them about the business or anything. So I really trust their value, and they have guided me the right way for several years now.
That's great to hear, and that it's still your go-to for both of those gentlemen. Love it. We've got Dwayne Atkinson. What happened to the Mr. Rogers Buff Bagwell? And I got to say, there were some videos, when we started, doing YouTube together that I came across that were outstanding from the Mr. Rogers Buff Bagwell. So what happened?
We may need to bring him back out, man. This is, I don't want to shave my goatee anymore because it's grown too long now. But back when I kept my goatee short, I could do a really quick Mr. Rogers lookalike thing with my goatee shaved and fix my hair and put a little gray. Now I got gray all in it, but it was something that the president of DDPY is a guy named Steve Yu, an incredibly talented guy named Steve Yu.
Absolutely.
And he thought of this character of, when I started to get sober, of a really nice Mr. Rogers type thing, but then I would turn to Buff like, are you kidding? What? And so it was really funny, and we ran with it for a long time. I really think it could have been a rebirth of me, and still do think it can, but with the goatee changeover now, it's much more of a hurt of a hit shaving my goatee off now. So
right.
What do you think about that?
It's tough too, because you do a lot of signings. I mean, you're working almost every weekend, and people want to interact with Buff Bagwell.
Right.
So it's a tough thing you shave that, you're no longer Buff.
Right. Exactly.
I can see that.
I do think it could have been a possibility with a little more traction. We could have done like at WrestleCade, one day be Buff Bagwell, one day be Mr. Bagwell neighborhood thing, but it just didn't really get that much traction. I get asked that question, once or twice a day, and I'm Buff Bagwell the rest of the time. So it just didn't quite get enough traction, but I enjoyed doing it. We had a lot of fun doing it.
We got another great one here. When you worked a new feud with a wrestler, how much time did you spend practicing your moves and promos with that person?
Wait a minute. Let me read this. Practice your moves and promos. Okay, this is the part I have a trouble with on wrestling being fake. Okay, see, here's the thing. You can call wrestling predetermined, but you can't call it fake. So my example of this, and it's a perfect example, is Dancing with the Stars. Dancing with the Stars has, they know who their partner is already. They've been practicing all week their dance moves, okay, all week long. Then the night of that dance, they have 3 dressed rehearsals before they go live, okay? The board of who we're wrestling goes up at 5 p.m. for an 8 p.m. start. So you've got 3 hours of knowledge on who you're wrestling, and you're at the building. There is no moves practiced. There is very little promos practiced because there's too many egos. You may go practice in your room about what you're going to say, and Scotty may go practice in his room on what he's going to say, but there is no practicing together on promos, and there's zero practicing moves. So when you get on the board of who you're wrestling, you go into the finish room. Let me fix my camera. You go into the finish room, and when you go into the finish room, they tell you the finish that they want. And when they tell you the finish they want, you work from back to front and you discuss what you're going to do. You can't walk through a backdrop clothesline you over the top ropes. You discuss it for a maximum of 3 hours, and then you got to go perform it. So people out there that think, oh, well, that's rehearsed. Let me tell you, No, it's not. You can't rehearse tackle, drop down, leapfrog, double hip toss, body slam, clothesline, elbow, power slam. You, you can't practice that. If you did, you'd be wrestling 600 times a year. So you talk about it, but then you got to go out and perform it without tripping, without messing up, and without fake. It's really hard to do. It's a very tough thing to do. So wrestling, please hear me. It's not fake. It's predetermined.
Very good. Yeah, that gives great insight into all this. It's still a live show too, and that's the thing I think a lot of people forget. You don't have
Absolutely.
there's you hear a lot about botches, a botched move, or you have one shot to do this. It's live. What's the delay between live and
5 seconds.
5 seconds?
And
Yeah,
at first it
there's no
was
second
zero.
chances.
At first
Wow.
it was a zero delay. And then with Scotty cussing, it went to a 5 second delay, which is
Right.
good. And I think sometimes maybe live places do a 15-second delay, but
Sure.
ours was a 5 second delay. So if you trip, if you fall, if you miss a punch, you look stupid. So everybody at Nitro had an understanding that, look, brother, we're going to put it there. It's going to be there with the punches, the clothesline. We've got to tighten up, or we're all going to look stupid. And so there was more injuries because of that, but it was some of the best wrestling ever was.
Very true. Yeah, I mean that's the golden era, in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Tell us a story about Virgil, the goat.
Oh, well, the goat. Wow. He's been with some goats for sure, but Virgil was great, man. But the story I got on Virgil is after WCW. Um, he was he was really good about being at your event. Like he would show up with an I think he stayed in that NWO shirt because he would show up and be like, "Hey man, where'd you come from, brother?" And I would be like paid to be there, but Virgil was just always so friendly and nice, man. It was crazy. Again, I hated to see him the way he was late there because he was definitely, there was something. And again, I tried to ask him a couple of questions, but I didn't want to, pry into his personal business.
Right,
But
right.
he definitely was sick with something wrong, and I didn't know what it was. But then he died not too long after that. So
Yeah,
I hated to hear that.
for sure, for sure. And again, guys, really appreciate you all being in here. And I feel bad. There's so many questions. I didn't anticipate not being able to get to everybody here, but really appreciate you guys in here. So I'm going to grab a few more here. And we will be doing this every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be talking about different things that come up, throughout the weeks and all that. But really love, being able to bring these questions to Mark here. And, really appreciate you guys spending some time with us tonight. This is absolutely amazing here.
It really
So,
is.
yeah, it's such a great way to interact with people and to, answer questions that they want, you to answer. So there was one here. I just lost it. That's the other thing. This chat is just bumping. I go to click one and it's like the page just jumps. It's a good problem to have. I'm not complaining, but this is a great one right here. They should have done, or this is not so much a question, more so a statement, but they should have had a Scott Steiner and Bagwell TNA thing, like even a tag team. That would have been cool because you were in TNA briefly for a little while, right?
Yes, I was. And they could have. What's weird to me is, and it's even shocking for me to understand, but Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell were never world tag team champions. I mean, I really thought we were, but we were not. And Scotty, everything me and Scotty did was really, really worked really well. And we had great chemistry together. But yeah, anything you did with Scott Steiner and Buff Bagwell at that time, because of the way we looked, it would have really worked. Scotty, of course, nobody looked as good as Scotty did, but I was the probably second closest to him, and Luger too. There's only a handful of guys that look like Steiner, even close. So, with us together in the ring and both having, short hair the way we did and the goatees, it made for a really good team, but we never really had the titles together. But they could have done a lot more with us, I think, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I think of three different tag teams that you were a part of that never had the belts and should have. There was you and Lex Luger. There was Vicious and Delicious, and then you and Steiner. It seems like such a fumble to not put the straps on all three versions of these tag teams.
Yes.
And you have a lot of tag team championships, but none with these three major stars, alongside you.
It was really weird. The only one that's got a little bit of a story would be Norton with Vicious and Delicious. And I told you that one, I broke my neck early.
Right.
And then when I came back, he was in Japan. So they put me with Scott Steiner. So we never got to really play out the Vicious and Delicious. And if we could have, it would have been the best tag team ever.
Oh, without question. It was phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. And it's still, all these years later, you're still talking about, you guys have the action figures together. So it obviously has a strong impact, but yeah, it's unfortunate that we didn't get to see the full potential of that.
You don't see many action figure of tag teams that was not world tag team champions.
Right.
Think about that. And
very true.
But that name was so cool. Vicious and Delicious just said it all for me and Norton. It was great.
Right. And the ring gear, everything about it was just to the T. It was outstanding.
Thumbs up Norton on the ring gear. He found that guy to do that wall. And man, it was our best tights ever.
Without question. Yeah. Memorable all these years later, which,
yes,
really says a lot.
Yeah.
So let me see what else we got here. Wow, guys, a lot of great questions in here. This is phenomenal. And it's Thursday Night Football. And anybody got an update on the score tonight? To have these numbers, 224 in here with us right now, incredible. Competing against the NFL doesn't get any better than this.
That's incredible. The Jets and Patriots, huh?
Jets and Patriots, yep. And so this one right here, I'm not going to let him answer this one because this is going to be, I think, our next video, in fact. So,
oh man, yeah, because I could roll it. Oh, that's right. We just talk about this one.
Yeah. I'm actually. You can give him something.
I don't think we should, man. We got
okay. All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Let's tell him.
That's what my gut tells me too. That's good. I'll make a promise here. This will be the next video that we put out because it's a great one. We just filmed this actually last week, and great stories working with Bryan Cranston and Princess the Monkey, which is the Hangover monkey, Night at the Museum.
Say that again. The same monkey was in Hangover, all three Hangovers, the Night of the Museum, and I think something else was in the Terror Track with us.
Yes.
And this monkey got paid more than me and Bryan Cranston put together. And he's a bigger star. He's got over $3 billion. $3 billion with a B dollars in sales of his movies. So he's a bigger star than me and Bryan Cranston ever were. I mean, maybe not now with Cranston, but at that time he was a bigger star. So it's a great video. We got it coming out pretty soon. So so super awesome. I promise you, the Terror Track answer will be answered in a couple of days.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is really a fun video. It's not so much wrestling related, but great stories of you alongside Cranston, and John Ritter was in the film, and Princess the Monkey, the highest grossing monkey. And actually there's a docu series out right now on HBO Max, and it's called Chimp Crazy. And I learned that now they're no longer able to make movies with monkeys, or I think any type of monkey in the films now. It all has to be like CGI and all that stuff. So it's a new thing. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because that's another one of those crazy stories about one of the monkeys in that. I think it's a chimpanzee. In fact, it was in a bunch of films. I think George of the Jungle. It was in a couple. Actually, I think Princess the Monkey was in that film as well with this monkey that this series is based around. But yeah, it just kind of goes through what ends up happening to them, when they get older and how they're kind of passed around and stuff like that. So it's
Oh,
a really
wow.
interesting thing. But I think it's the director of Tiger King that did that. So
Wow.
yep, and it's
Well, this monkey had its own trailer, and in the trailer, he had like 1,000 outfits. I mean, he had
wow.
his own trailer. I didn't even have my own trailer in the movie, and the monkey had its own trailer. It was crazy. The monkey was a bigger star. It was nuts.
Wow, incredible.
Yes,
See the things you'll learn watching the Marcus Buff Bagwell YouTube channel. And so I'm gonna say this, guys. You got to hit subscribe if you haven't already, so you stay in the loop for all these future videos that'll be coming out here, and
yes.
to learn about TerraTract here. So definitely hit the subscribe if you haven't already on here. And then I just saw something else: Buff versus Undertaker, Buff versus The Rock. Where was that one? There we go. Have you ever met The Rock? Never.
One time on the red carpet of an ESPY thing.
Okay.
An ESPY show. One of those, I mean, ESPYs, the ESPYs for ESPN. He was on the red carpet, and I was with, of all people, the Iranian Sheik. I was with the
Wow.
Sheik, and he had two twins in Canada. And this, I think the ESPY was in Canada or it had to be up north somewhere, because we did this SB thing on the red carpet, and these two twins from Canada that were huge wrestling fans, they were kind of taking care of the Sheik, and we got in everywhere with him, and red carpet with The Rock and all that. So it was crazy. But The Rock is my story. And we've talked on the phone maybe once at a signing that we were both at. And how many people did you draw? And how many people did you draw? And we were laughing, and nice to talk to you. But we never really sat down and talked ever. But it was going to happen where Buff wrestled The Rock. That was just a no-brainer. But it didn't even have time to get processed, because I was there for 2 weeks and it was over. But if it would have been there more than a month, I mean, that was to me would have been the match. Eventually would have been, hopefully, The Rock versus Buff Bagwell. I would have loved to have wrestled him at least once.
That would have been a phenomenal match. Yeah,
Yes.
it's crazy. Such a missed opportunity to not have had that, the opportunity to do that. But we got to meet his mother actually a couple weeks back in Vegas, and she was just a total sweetheart.
Fantastic. It was really wonderful to meet her. She showed us the dance.
Oh yes, the what do you call that? The hula dance?
Hula dance.
Hula. There you go. Yes, she was demonstrating that for us. Just a wonderful,
Really, really nice
woman.
lady.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll wrap this up shortly here. We got RGT 85 in the house, who I'm familiar with. Buff Daddy, glad to see you doing well, brother.
Hey, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you so much.
Should have been WWE champion. That would have been nice for sure.
Let's at least make it logical. I should have been the WCW champion for sure.
There you go. Very true. But you got a lot of tag titles and what is it? Five titles with 4 different people, right?
Yes, and that's the resume that should hopefully one day, be enough to get me into the Hall of Fame, man. I'd love to be under that umbrella. I mean, there's so many guys ahead of me, but gosh, man, it would be wonderful to have that title under that umbrella of the World WWE Hall of Fame, man. That's what a great sound that's got. And I got many years for that to happen, but I'm hoping for the best,
Absolutely. I agree. Buff, you ever play Revenge? So that's the video game that we did the video on, where you talked about the $80,000 bonus for. Have you ever played that?
Never.
Well, you know what? We're gonna fix this situation. Next time I'm down there and we're filming, we're gonna have to bring that into the mix.
We will.
Get that set up for you, and we'll. Does everybody want to see Marcus Bagwell play as Marcus Bagwell in WCW NWO Revenge? I think that would be phenomenal.
That would be good.
I remember like that.
Yes, I remember going by the TV in my theater room and seeing my nephews It was buff versus buff.
Oh,
And
and you could change the outfits too, so it wasn't even the same
yeah.
exact
And
version.
I went,
Right.
what's going on? And they go, oh, we're playing you, Uncle Mark. And I went, what? So it was, wrestling was becoming bigger than we knew.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you guys had a lot of video games. I think you were in 7 different video games, which is incredible. And now they're coming out with all these new versions of older games where they're bringing, like you can jump into the newest WWE game and you can download Marcus Buff Bagwell. Like people have created you as a character because they're not providing it for you. So that would be cool to see you play that too. So I'll try to push them in that direction, guys. I know everybody wants to
Absolutely. We
see.
can do it.
And a lot of people saying they want to see it.
Dude, I played video games a lot. I mean, it was an old, like Atari, of course, but then
Sure.
after Atari, there was one called Collectivision. You 50-year-old men and older look up Collectivision. It had a little dial on it, was how you did, like a joystick was a dial. And I mean, baseball and football was super real. I mean, it was just stick men that ran kind of like this,
Right.
but it was super real for us. We loved it. And then after that, I got into Nintendo with like Donkey Kong Jr. and a little bit of sports, but not a lot. And then before I knew it, it was the video games was gone and trying to be a pro wrestler took over. So I just never had time for it.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can
But
understand that.
we should do that for sure. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get a lot of games to choose from. And we did the video, where you were holding all the games too. So we've got them all. Might as well just
Yes,
knock that out too. So seems
for
like a
sure.
lot of people want to see that. We'll make it happen for you guys here. Let's see.
Hello, Nicholas. How you doing, brother?
A lot of support on here. And I got to say, with YouTube, sometimes you can find some negativity out there to say the least, but over here, we've got just so many wonderful people here that have been supportive and people that have shared stories of meeting you over the years. And, it's no secret you had several years where you were struggling, and people still throughout even those difficult times say the nicest things about you. So I think that just speaks volumes of, how
I'm
you've
telling
been.
you, man. On my worst day, man, I was never rude to anybody. I'm sure there's somebody out there I was rude to, but man, it's few and far between. I just didn't do it. I just did not do it. I could not be ugly to somebody that was asking me for an autograph or was engaged at me at all. I mean, I've had people knock on windows that was startled and have told me stories that they did that to me, and I still was the nicest guy ever. I just couldn't drum up the negative energy to be ugly to somebody that was excited about meeting me. I couldn't do it to anybody. It was incredible, but I just loved people. I loved wrestling fans and I loved being somebody. So I never took that away from them. I always was very genuine and always nice to everybody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, in your, the episode of Dark Side of the Ring, I mean, you mentioned this briefly earlier. Your ex-wives were interviewed and they gave you just a rave review. I mean, I don't know how many people could say that, that their ex-wives, have so many nice things to say about them, but you can say that, it's
Yeah.
incredible, really.
I mean, the Dark Side of the Ring, the first question they asked me, they go, how do you have 2 ex-wives to talk good about you? And I wasn't being sarcastic or anything. I said that should tell you that I'm a pretty good guy. Because again, I got 2 ex-wives and a guy that I shot with a gun that really don't say too much bad things about me. I think that speaks volumes. I really do,
It
because
does. It absolutely does. Yes.
so just very excited when I watched it back. That was my first take was, wow. I mean, they didn't say anything bad about me, but again, they couldn't because there was nothing really bad to say. I mean, we had life problems. I mean, things that happen in relationships, but there was nothing that they could really go to bed mad over. So,
Right.
just very excited that they spoke the truth and it just, to me, when you get that many stories involved, that many people's opinion involved, 20 years ago, it's your story, it's their story, and then it's the truth,
Right.
but all the stories seem to come out the same, and that ain't just cause ironic, it's because they're the truth, and the truth is what comes through with these things.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing this here, and this is another thing I love about the comments here. Things get brought up that I'm just light bulbs are going off. All right, potential video down the line. What is this right here? So we've got Buff should make a future video about the top hat that you wore on Raw being stolen in Alabama.
I'm crazy to figure out who knows this. I've told this story a lot, so it's very possible the person knows, but
Sure.
fresh off TV with the red top hat that I wore the night with Booker T, pretty quick. Like I would say within a year of being off TV, I was in Mobile, Alabama for the first time in my life on an independent show. And at the independent show, I show up and I walk in. As soon as I walk in, I've never been there before, and everybody's just looking at me like a deer in headlights, and you don't know if it's good or bad. You're just trying to do your thing, and I don't want my own dressing room. I never wanted my own dressing room. I dressed right with the boys for 20 years of independent wrestling. I dressed right in the middle of the locker room with all of the boys, and I was there this night too, and this guy instantly come up to me, super cool, really nice guy. And every time I get to a show, I always got to find somebody that I can trust with my pouch, with my hat. I need somebody I can trust on this show. Every show I've done for 20 years, I need somebody to help me help me sell my merchandise. I've got to find somebody I can trust. Well, I find a guy that's that guy, and at the end of the night, I've got my top hat off with my necklace and my warm-up band inside my top hat, and I'm looking around, and I'm trying to sign autographs, and I hand him my top hat to sign a few autographs, and when I turn back around, he's gone. And I was like, hey, so I started asking, I go, hey, where's the guy that was with me? And he goes, we thought he came with you. I went, what? So by the time we start searching, he's gone.
Wow.
And they got cameras of him seeing him walk out the back door. But that's all. So the guy that I trusted that night has, or at least had, my red top hat from the Booker T match.
Wow. And it's
Mobile,
never been
Alabama.
recovered to this day. Wow.
I even hired an attorney for that at first to try to find it for me, and nothing. Never heard of it. Never saw it again. It's the only one. It's the only one that's that red with that yellow of a buff. There's not another one out there like that. So I've never.
Wow.
It's never came up. It's never seen it stole. I don't know. Never.
We're going to see it in Pawn Stars in Vegas one of these days. Rick's going to be calling you,
Yes.
trying to sell it back to you.
Yeah.
So, well, you touched on being one of the boys, and this is how we're going to wrap it up today. Have you heard about Logan Paul and Kevin Nash kind of going back and forth with each other?
I have not.
So apparently they are at odds these days, and I'm going
Really?
to show you guys. Yeah, I'll show you a video right here of. I guess we'll jump into Kevin Nash first, and he was just covering this with Sean Oliver over there on Click This. So we'll give them a plug as well here. If you haven't checked out Click This, check out Kevin Nash and Sean Oliver over there. Great podcast, YouTube channel, all that good stuff. But let's jump into this.
They were working him, I think, because Logan Paul does not shoot work.
Not one of the boys. Where would he learn that shit at? Where's he going up and down the road talking our jargon? In the building? Everybody's in their own motor coach. There's no interaction. There's no socialization. You don't become one. You don't become one of the boys just because you're around them. That, from what I heard, he's making like $5 million for a limited, and those other are out there making house shows. You. That's from the boys. You.
That's from
I don't
someone
give-
working the road schedule.
I don't
we've
give
been
a.
talking
I don't
about.
give a how many people are following you. All that means, man, is if it said you had 24 million Rhodes Scholars following you, man, I would be like, dude, you are Jesus. You got a bunch of idiots.
So that was Kevin Nash's message over to Logan
So
Paul.
what did Logan do for Kevin?
Oh, he had a
Nash?
response. He had a response, and he kind of shot a little promo on it. Let me see if I can find that one. I think I got it over here because he directly responded to him. Let's see what he had to say. All right, I think I got it right here. There we go. Let's see.
Whoa. I couldn't hear it real clear though.
Which part?
But,
Logan?
The whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Part, yeah. But still, I could get the gist of it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's tense. It's tense to say the least.
It is. That's crazy. So, but I mean, what started Kevin being mad?
I'm not sure the true origin of this. I think he's just he has the old school mentality. You're looking at a guy that's a part-timer that has is big for other things, social media presence, all that stuff. I mean, I would imagine he's brought into the mix because he comes with X amount of viewers and dollars attached to him. So I think it boils down to just a difference of worlds here, and generations maybe.
Yes. You don't see Kevin get that mad a lot, but he was.
No, he's very, very reserved, very low key.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was mad.
For sure. And I don't know. I think Logan probably turned it into a, more so of a promo to, maybe save face. But I don't know if there's, I don't know, if he truly doesn't know who Kevin Nash. I feel like that's wild to assume that he doesn't know who Kevin Nash is. I mean,
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, so it's a tough thing there, but we'll see how it all
plays out,
I suppose, right? But listen, guys, absolutely amazing. I mean, we're at 206 people in here. I feel bad wrapping this up, but it's getting late. We're going to do this again next Thursday and every Thursday moving forward. I'm sure there'll be times where we have to move things around a little bit, but
yes,
the deal is 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Thursday. And then we mentioned this before. We'll mention it again next week, the 25th, the Vince McMahon docuseries is going to be hitting Netflix. So we'll be coming at you guys the following night. We'll definitely make a point to watch at least the first episode and talk about that with you guys, do a sort of a little reaction, from Buff to you guys. So thank you guys so much in here. And let's see, we got Mr. Adventure here, Buff Bagwell, robbed like Brett. Suck it. Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation there, but
that was very true, brother.
Yes.
Very true.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much. Really enjoyed this. This was an absolute blast. We will see you guys same time, same place next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give us a like here on this video. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks.
See you next week.